What if the ultimate safety net you've built for your supply chain, having like 50 different transporters on speed dial, is actually the exact thing destroying your operation?
Yeah, sounds totally counterintuitive, right?
Right. Well, welcome to today's deep dive. If you are listening to this, you are navigating the fast-paced and really high-stakes world of logistics and transport right here in South Africa.
And it is definitely high stakes out there.
Oh, absolutely. So our mission today is to dissect a really fascinating piece from Greystride. It's titled "The Real Risk of Using Too Many Transporters." And we're pulling this apart because it challenges a supply chain strategy that is honestly almost universally accepted.
Yeah, it takes this deeply ingrained idea, this assumption that a massive list of vendors protects you, and it reveals why that very approach is probably sabotaging your efficiency from the inside out.
Exactly. I mean, the traditional logic we are all taught seems mathematically sound on the surface, doesn't it?
On the surface, yes. The premise of the Greystride piece really forces a complete reevaluation of how supply chain managers calculate risk. Because the thinking goes that spreading your loads across a massive list of transporters dilutes your exposure.
Right. Like, don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Exactly. More trucks available theoretically means more options. So if a vehicle breaks down on the N3 or a transporter suddenly has, capacity issues,
Having a massive roster means another operator just steps in and takes the load.
right, it feels like this impenetrable fortress of capacity.
You sit at your desk, you look at a list of 50 approved vendors, and you just think, there is zero chance my freight gets left on the dock today.
But the source material just completely pulls the rug out from under that exact feeling.
Oh, totally. Because that feeling of security, it's entirely an illusion.
It really is. The primary insight from the analysis is that while this sprawling strategy promises ultimate flexibility, the practical reality is that it delivers absolute chaos.
Chaos.
By infinitely expanding your transporter base, you inevitably cross a critical threshold. You actually stop managing transport and you start managing unpredictability.
Wow.
Yeah, the logistics network just degrades into operational noise.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because visualizing the mechanics of that chaos is really important.
I agree.
So imagine you are organizing a massive dinner party, right? And you need to coordinate 50 guests. If you want to guarantee everyone arrives at the right time with the correct dish, you would set up, I don't know, one central invitation, maybe one clear group chat.
Keep it contained.
Exactly. But the logistics equivalent of activating 50 different transporters is like trying to organize that single dinner party using 20 individual group chats across 5 different messaging apps.
Oh, what a nightmare.
Right. You've got people texting you, emailing you, leaving like voice notes on WhatsApp.
Just a constant stream of disjointed information.
Exactly. Instead of ensuring the dinner actually happens, you lose the address of the venue and the noise, and suddenly you have no idea who is actually bringing the main course.
That dinner party analogy gets right to the heart of the mathematical complexity at play here. You build a system to be robust, but the sheer weight of coordinating that system becomes the primary barrier to actually moving the goods.
Look, this is so ironic.
It is. Logistics training emphasizes a deep bench of capacity, but the operational reality of activating that bench introduces a concept we really need to understand: exponential rather than linear complexity.
Okay, but I need to push back on that, just playing devil's advocate for a second.
Sure.
Imagine a planner who is staring down a massive month-end volume spike. You know how crazy month-end gets?
Oh, absolutely.
If my ultimate non-negotiable goal is moving goods from point A to point B without fail, doesn't having 50 transporters guarantee my capacity is protected? I mean, isn't a redundant safety net the only way to survive those massive volume surges?
See, what's fascinating here is that the safety net actually creates the holes you fall through.
Wait, really? How so?
Well, when you add a new transporter to your roster, you are not just adding a truck, you are introducing an entirely new communication node. Oh, okay.
You're bringing in a different back-office culture, a completely different set of operational standards, and a totally different way of handling crises.
Right, because no two companies operate exactly the same way.
Exactly. And the Greystride analysis shows that instead of dividing risk across multiple players, a bloated network actually multiplies your points of failure.
Multiplies them. Well,
Yeah. If you have 10 transporters, the lines of communication between your planners, the warehouses, and the fleets are generally manageable. But if you scale that to 50,
It just explodes.
right, the communication lines cross into the thousands. And the ultimate casualty of that multiplied complexity is your control over the operation.
And control is the definitive metric here. I mean, physically moving a box is the easy part.
Yeah, driving a truck is driving a truck.
Right. The actual service you are providing as a logistic professional is timing, coordination, and reliability.
Absolutely. So if we follow the causality here, I want to explore how that loss of control physically manifests on the floor and out on the road. The source material outlines 4 specific cracks, right? How this sprawling complexity fractures an operation.
Yeah, let's get into the 4 cracks. The decay almost always begins with the first 1 communication breakdowns.
Which makes sense based on what we just talked about.
Right. It is a simple fact of the market that different transporters possess entirely different operational DNA.
Like what? Give me an example.
Well, you might engage a large fleet operator who has a, fully integrated digital portal. They confirm loads digitally, they provide automated waypoint updates, and they escalate potential delays the very moment a truck hits congestion.
Okay, super high tech.
Yeah. But in that exact same network, you have a smaller operator who relies on a dispatcher. And that dispatcher is waiting for a driver to call in on a spotty cell connection before they send your planner an informal WhatsApp message.
Wow, okay. And a planner sitting at a desk has to mentally translate all those completely different operational languages simultaneously.
Exactly. It's exhausting.
When you multiply those wildly different habits across dozens of operators, the volume of fragmented information just entirely overwhelms the human beings trying to process it.
Yeah, mistakes are guaranteed at that point.
Like a planner sends out a load confirmation via email and naturally assumes it's locked in. But the transporter, who prefers WhatsApp, doesn't even check that inbox until the end of the day.
Right, and by then it's too late.
Exactly. Clarity is entirely replaced by assumption. You are no longer preventing delays proactively. You are literally just waiting for something to catch fire and then frantically reacting to it.
Which perfectly triggers the next inevitable phase of the breakdown crack number 2, the total erosion of accountability.
Ah, the blame game.
Exactly. When your communication is that fragmented across a bloated network, the lines of responsibility blur completely. The moment a critical delivery window is missed, the ambiguity of the system creates just a perfect environment for nobody to take the fall.
I can picture this exact scenario playing out on a loading dock.
Oh, it happens every day.
Right. A truck misses a 2 p.m. booking. The warehouse shuts the bay because they have their own schedules.
Yep.
The load rolls over to the next day, and the end customer is absolutely furious. Who actually owns that failure?
Well, in a tight, controlled network, the answer is immediately obvious. But in a bloated network, everyone has a perfectly plausible excuse.
Oh, man.
Yeah. The transporter claims they were never sent the updated loading reference. The planner claims the transporter went silent and didn't provide an ETA. And the warehouse claims they were just following protocol because the truck was late.
So the issue just gets passed around indefinitely. Nobody takes ownership.
Right, and the source material is adamant that this lack of accountability is not just some internal frustration. It is a massive financial drain, and it absolutely destroys the trust your customer has in your brand.
Because you can't fix a problem if you don't know whose problem it actually is.
Exactly. You cannot offer a premium, reliable service if you cannot internally pinpoint why a failure occurred.
Okay, but wait. Let's look at the vetting process for a second, which brings us to the third crack.
Okay.
If a supply chain manager goes through the trouble of vetting 50 transporters, auditing their paperwork, checking their goods in transit insurance, and officially tagging them as approved vendors, shouldn't that baseline approval guarantee a uniform standard of service?
You would think so.
Right. I mean, even if they communicate differently, a vetted truck is a vetted truck, right?
That is a very dangerous fallacy.
Really?
Yeah. An approved status on a procurement spreadsheet is simply a legal baseline. It just means they have insurance and a tax clearance certificate. It has absolutely no bearing on the uniformity of their daily execution.
Okay, that makes sense.
There are massive variances in the quality of the drivers, the physical maintenance of the fleets, their internal route discipline, and honestly, just their willingness to go the extra mile to recover a delayed schedule.
So by indiscriminately spreading loads across that vast pool of varying quality, you're essentially turning your daily delivery schedule into a casino game.
That's a great way to put it, a total gamble.
Yeah. Monday's load gets assigned to a top-tier partner, and execution is flawless. But then Tuesday's load goes to the guy at the bottom of the roster who just happened to have an empty vehicle, and the entire day is a chaotic mess.
Right.
You cannot build long-term customer contracts or optimize a warehouse schedule on a coin toss.
You really can't.
Mm.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, this is crack number 4, we have to examine the human toll this environment takes on your internal team.
Right, the actual people running this thing.
Exactly. Managing a fragmented, unpredictable network fundamentally changes the job description of your transport planners. A
Yeah.
planner is supposed to be hired to optimize the network, right? To consolidate loads, find routing efficiencies, and build actual strategy.
But instead, they're basically reduced to being switchboard operators.
Spot on.
I was thinking of an analogy for this. It is like being an air traffic controller, but half the planes in your airspace have turned off their transponders and are just out there flashing their headlights at you.
That is terrifying, but entirely accurate.
You aren't optimizing flight paths or improving fuel efficiency anymore. You're just desperately trying to prevent mid-air collisions.
Yeah. Your team is spending every hour chasing drivers, endlessly following up on unread emails, and just managing avoidable exceptions.
And over time, that chaos simply becomes the baseline normal.
It does. Your team actually forgets what a quiet, smooth operation feels like.
Wow. Okay, here's where it gets really interesting. Because everything we are talking about right now, the fragmented communication, the blame game, the wildly varying vendor quality,
Yeah,
that could technically apply to a logistics manager sitting in Frankfurt or Chicago.
true.
But the Greystride piece explicitly zeroed in on the South African transport environment. This is our listener's actual backyard.
Yes, it did.
So why does this strategy of carrying a bloated transporter network cross the line from just being inefficient to being actively fatal for operators specifically in South Africa?
Because the South African context functions as a massive risk amplifier.
A risk amplifier. I like that.
Yeah. Before you even book a single vehicle, the operating environment here injects an incredibly high level of external variability into your supply chain. Just consider the structural realities outlined in the analysis.
Like the distances, for instance.
Exactly. We are dealing with vast, long-haul distances between major economic hubs, which naturally extends the exposure time for any given load.
Right. You were talking about the massive stretches between Johannesburg and Cape Town, or the really intense, highly congested N3 corridor down to Durban.
Precisely. And add to that the immense documented pressure on our road infrastructure.
Oh, the potholes alone.
Right. Then factor in severe weather events, unpredictable delays at border posts like Bight Bridge, and of course, heightened security risks out on the road.
It's a lot to navigate.
It is. Yet, despite all these massive external hurdles, the end consumer and the retail distribution centers still demand incredibly tight, unforgiving delivery windows.
So the pressure cooker is already at maximum capacity just from existing in this geography. I mean, you cannot control a sudden road closure on Van Rieden's Pass. You cannot control a delay at the port. Those are fixed variables in the South African logistics equation.
And that is the crux of the argument right there. Because you are constantly battling severe external chaos that you cannot control, taking an internal, fully controllable variable, which is your transport network, and making it needlessly complex is operational self-sabotage.
You're just adding fuel to the fire?
Exactly. Layering internal unpredictability on top of external unpredictability does not build a resilient safety net. It creates a highly fragile system that shatters under pressure.
Wow.
In the South African context, simplicity, rigorous structure, and absolute control are not just best practices, they are absolute survival mechanisms.
Okay, so what does this all mean for the listener sitting at their desk right now?
It means it's time for a change.
Right. If casting a wide net and keeping dozens of vendors on life support is failing miserably, how do you actually execute the alternative? Like, how do you perform surgery on a bloated network and drastically cut down your vendors without leaving your warehouse completely stranded without trucks on a Tuesday morning?
Well, the alternative strategy introduced in the Greystride piece is a concept called managed simplicity.
Managed simplicity.
Okay, and this requires a fundamental philosophical pivot. The most resilient, highest performing supply chains do not rely on a sheer volume of options.
Okay, what do they rely on?
They rely on tightly structured, highly curated, and deeply integrated networks. The transition to managed simplicity starts with the hardest step, deliberately choosing fewer but significantly better transporters.
That shift from quantity to quality sounds great in a boardroom, but man, it requires serious nerve to execute on the ground.
Oh, it's terrifying at first.
You aren't just crossing names off a list, you are curating a core team. You have to look past that baseline approved status and audit their actual operational compatibility with your business.
Sad.
You want partners who don't just have trucks, but who share your urgency and your standards, right?
Absolutely. And once you shrink that circle down from, say, 50 strangers to 5 true partners, the entire dynamic of accountability changes.
How so?
Well, in a curated network, everyone knows exactly what is expected of them. Because of the volume of noise drops so dramatically, real relationships actually form.
Ah, I see.
Your planners know their dispatchers by name. The service level agreements aren't just pieces of paper sitting in a drawer somewhere. They are actively managed expectations. A transporter can no longer hide in the anonymity of a massive vendor list.
And I imagine that smaller circle also allows you to finally solve the communication breakdown we talked about earlier.
Precisely. You can finally dictate the terms of engagement.
Right. You establish a single playbook. You mandate that all load confirmations happen through one specific channel by a specific time.
Yes.
You standardize how waypoints are reported and exactly who gets called when a breakdown happens. You just eliminate that WhatsApp versus email debate completely.
And that standardization of communication is what ultimately unlocks the true prize of managed simplicity.
Which is?
Performance visibility.
Ah, the data.
Right. When the daily noise of chasing 50 different operators is finally silenced, you begin to generate clean, actionable data. You can measure true on-time delivery rates. You can accurately track the reliability of specific routes.
The radar screen finally clears up.
Exactly.
You aren't making decisions based on the planner's gut feeling about who usually does a decent job. You are allocating volume based on hard performance metrics.
Yeah, the numbers don't lie.
Right. If you have a critical high-value load bound for a strict retail window, you know exactly which of your 5 partners has the statistical reliability to execute it flawlessly.
And this is the ultimate takeaway from the source material. The most significant hidden cost of a bloated transport network is the slow, almost imperceptible loss of strategic control.
It just slips away day by day.
It does. When complexity scales, your visibility diminishes, your decision-making paralyzes, and your entire operation becomes permanently locked in a reactive stance.
Always putting out fires.
Always. You stop running a logistics strategy and you start merely administrating a chaotic environment. The fundamental question every supply chain professional must ask themselves is not, how many transporters do we have available?
Right.
The only question that dictates success is, how effectively is our transport network managed?
Because in logistics, and especially in the high-stakes South African environment, simplicity is never a limitation. Managed simplicity is your ultimate competitive advantage.
Absolutely.
It is the mechanism that allows you to cut through the industry noise, protect your margins, and actually deliver on your promises.
Control, consistency, and a foundation of trusted capacity will outperform a bloated, unmanaged network under any conditions.
Well said. I want to leave you with one final provocative thought to mull over as you analyze your own operation today.
Let's hear it.
We've talked extensively about how a bloated network destroys efficiency on the ground. But think about the corporate structures sitting above the planners. Are your company's internal KPIs actually incentivizing this exact sabotage?
Oh, that's a brilliant point.
Right. If your procurement or supply chain executives are measured and rewarded based on how many backup vendors they onboard to supposedly secure capacity, your own corporate structure might be forcing your team to build the very chaos that destroys execution.
That happens all the time.
So ask yourself, are you measuring the size of your safety net, or are you measuring the actual strength of the weave? Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Stay sharp, and we'll catch you on the next one.